Here are some tips and tricks for constructing the perfect capsulorhexis. My aim is for 5.5 millimeters diameter, so there will be overlap 360 degrees on a 6 millimeter diameter IOL when implanted in the bag. I first taught myself capsulorhexis by watching other surgeons' videos and going to observe them in person at their operating suite. I started the rhexis by piercing the capsule in the center of the pupil with a bent 25 gauge needle on a syringe. I would then make a U-shaped tear inferiorly with the needle. Fortunately, we now have pre-made cystotomes for this step, so no longer do we need to make our own. I would then grasp the edge of the flap with the capsulorhexis forceps and make my rhexis. I practiced between cases on whole tomatoes, grapes. The skin of a tomato or a grape makes a great surrogate for the lens capsule. My anaesthetist would ask me, how do you get the rhexis so perfectly round? I learnt to create the perfect circle by following around in line with the pupil margin of the iris. For a standard dilated pupil, this would be approximately 1.5 millimeters in from the iris margin all around. I used frequent regrasping to keep a short lead on the capsular tag. I needed to regrasp the capsule each time close to the edge of the rhexis for better control. Watch my video here demonstrating the importance of frequent regrasping. Click on the URL. This rhexis is unedited and created in 12 seconds. I became confident with creating the rhexis anti-clockwise and then practiced creating it easily, either anti-clockwise or clockwise, to improve versatility. If the rhexis ever started to proceed out tangentially, then I would reapply more viscoelastic directly on the edge of the tear to direct a vector of force posteriorly to the optic nerve head. It is then easy to redirect the tear radially and keep the perfect circle. Another important tip is to always be slightly lifting the flap, not slightly depressing the flap as you tear it. During the many hours I've spent supervising trainees in cataract surgery, this seems to be a common error, slightly depressing the edge of the flap while tearing. That slows their improvement in making the capsulorhexis easily. Once I was confident with starting the rhexis with the 25 gauge needle or cystotome, I then progressed to starting and completing the rhexis with the rhexis forceps. I would pierce the center of the capsule in the center of the pupil with one tip of the forceps, then immediately grasp the edge of the tiny circle I had created. I then start tearing the rhexis out to within 1.5 millimeters of the pupil edge, and then follow the pupil edge around, leaving the same width between the edge of the rhexis and the pupil margin. This creates a lovely capsular rhexis.